From its very conception, My Babysitter's a Vampire was created to fill a quota. Teletoon was a specialty channel that focused exclusively on animation, importing Cartoon Network shows and hosting its own series, the most notable being Total Drama, 16, and Stoked, all of which aired on Cartoon Network in the United States. They also had licensing agreements with Cartoon Network, Disney Channel, and Nickelodeon, the big three of children's entertaining programs in the United States. So it was the one-stop shop for Canadian children to watch their favorite television shows. Since these two channels were already swapping TV shows with each other, it makes sense that eventually, on March 27, 2023, Teletoon was officially rebranded as Cartoon Network on Canadian television. Fresh TV is the production company behind all of these projects. Yes, Total Drama, 16, and Stoked, that's all them. But in 2010, they were looking to expand into creating live-action programming, and that's where we get the cult classic television series My Babysitter's a Vampire. Today we're going to be talking about the tumultuous history of My Babysitter's a Vampire's creation, and attempting to understand and explain why it was inevitably cancelled. Hello, I'm the Cringe Critic, where I'll be cringed so you don't have to. Happy Halloween, everybody. Hope you guys are enjoying the topic of this video so far. Oh, you can see like the lemon slices in my mug. Just pretend they're not there, okay? This is another overly meta reference to a previous Halloween costume of mine. One year for Halloween, I was a devil, and it was just like some cheap Party City outfit that I had bought. And then I had to go to a Halloween party for my Bible study class, and my mom said I couldn't show up as a devil for Bible study, so I dressed up as an angel. Ironically enough, in an angel costume that my mom had stolen from like the Jesus Mary play that we had done in Christmas the previous year. So I was wearing a stolen angel costume, and she made me look like a chola because my mom was a chola, so she just like did her normal everyday makeup on me, and I looked adorable. So this is me referencing that. I think the headband is so stupid that it's come back around to being funny to me. I didn't think it was gonna come like this when I bought it online. One more glasses reveal to show the makeup. Can you guys see? I attempted to do one side 1960s kind of style makeup and the other side like modern 2020s e-girl. I don't think you can see it because of the glasses, but there we go. Also, I straightened it, guys. Look at my straight hair. It's not going to be fully straight by the end of the video, that's for sure. Just like this show we're talking about today. If you don't get that reference, go watch my previous video, okay? To give a brief history of Teletoon and to provide some context up to this point, Teletoon was a network owned by Chorus Entertainment, which is a Canadian company that does a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not gonna kid and pretend like I know anything about business and stuff that pertains to it, but what I do know is that Chorus is essentially the company that imports most of the United States television programming and airs it on their various networks, with up to 33 specialty networks being under their control. Teletoon was controlled by multiple Canadian specialty channels that were all later scooped up by Chorus in the years before MBAV's conception. It wasn't until 2013 that Chorus was able to get full control of the network by finally buying Astro Media, a company that was chopped into bits and spread about all the other Canadian networks, out of their shares and taking full ownership of Teletoon. I'm not sure if this complete buyout had anything to do with Teletoon no longer working with Fresh TV afterwards, but the timing seems to line up. So even though I have no evidence of this, it's my personal conspiracy that I'm going to go with. Fresh TV was originally an animation studio, with its first ever projects, all of which being created and co-written by Tom McGillis and Jennifer Perch, being big successes on a global scale. At a certain point, however, they expanded their roster to include live-action programming, and at least from what research I've done, it's unknown why they decided to make this pivot. Maybe Teletoon asked for live-action shows, or maybe Fresh TV came up with the idea and convinced Teletoon to get on board, but either way, it was a go. So in 2009, Teletoon was finally ready to create their first ever live-action TV show, and they cast Matthew Knight in the lead role of the project. And that series was Cartoon Gene. Yes, I am not joking. The Teletoon network decided to try and create their own brand new live-action television show, and they came up with Cartoon Gene. And yes, it does star Matthew Knight in the lead role. There is very little known about Cartoon Gene out there. There is a teaser, sort of like pilot episode advertisement that has been uploaded to YouTube, which I can only assume was something they aired to get test audience reactions, and maybe a full pilot exists out there, but there has been no archive of it. What is the general plot of Cartoon Gene, you may ask? It's fucking wild. It's crazy, guys. So Matthew Knight plays Gene, a kid who is half cartoon, half human. How did he get that way, you may ask? You don't want to know the answer. Gene's father is a mad scientist who is also obsessed with comic books, and he figures out a way to bring to life a comic book character into the real world. And then he has sex with it, and then they have a child, and that child is Gene. That is a crazy plotline, and that is a disgusting revelation. Can I say disgusting? Because it's disgusting. And they're married too. Like, they got married and then had a child. He didn't just, like, immediately bring her to life and bang her. I'm assuming they grew a bond and became loving husband and wife. I don't know. So anyways, because of this, Gene has, like, cartoons that appear around him and in the real life when he feels certain emotions. When he sees the girl he has a crush on at school, hearts appear around him, and he has to, like, wave them away so no one sees. When he's sad, a cloud with rain appears over his head, and this is, like, some secret he has to keep from everyone around him. You would have to assume that, like, he would develop superpowers over time, or some other more difficult reason as to why he would need to keep this a secret. I mean, I understand it's weird that, like, cartoons would appear in the real world, but I feel like it'd be easily explained. Like, you could do a Teen Wolf thing about it, you know? So there has to be some reason why they would want to keep this secret. There's a lot of Degrassi stars in the main cast and also like the peripheral cast, which is very funny. MBAV has always had like a peripheral relationship with Degrassi. To me, this is so clearly a riff on Reanimated, which was Cartoon Network's first stab at live action programming. I think they did like a 2010s later version of this as well. To kind of ease people into the idea of having live action programming on the network, you know, you kind of include a live action sitcom with animated elements in there. So it's sort of like has a reason to be on an animation only network. And Reanimated has been like panned critically and commercially. No one wanted this, and no one wanted Cartoon Gene because clearly the network decided to go in a different direction. That is where you get Tom McGillis and Jennifer Perch, who then pitched a vampire live-action television show to the network. So this is going to be a bit of a recap of my other video, which if you haven't seen, that's perfectly fine. But I will be getting into the nitty-gritty, so some context on the series as a whole may be helpful if you want to better understand this video's context. So to give a quick recap, My Babysitter's a Vampire is a show about a teenage boy named Ethan Morgan, whose parents hire a babysitter to embarrass him once he's left his young sister Jane alone one night as she witnessed a teenage boy die by the hands of a vampire. This babysitter is Sarah, who was previously dating a 200-year-old pastor named Jesse, who turned her into a vampire and recruited her best friend Erica, along with Ethan and Benny's friend Rory. Oh, yeah, and Benny is a character who is also there. And it's later revealed that he is a spellmaster, and his grandma is an earth priestess, and the two use magic throughout the series. Very little, but enough for it to be important to the story. Sarah, Ethan, and Benny band together to defeat Jesse, and the series continues with the main group working together to stop Monsters of the Week in a semi-episodic format. The show is notable for its cliffhanger ending after leaning heavily into serialized storytelling in the final two-parter episode, where it's implied that everyone except Erica and Rory perished in a giant purple explosion by a cult leader who wanted to rid the town they live in called Whitechapel of vampires for good. Cue probably over 24 hours of MBAV analysis and discussion on my channel over 10 years later. The casting was an integral part of the show's success in my opinion. Vanessa Morgan was set to play Sarah and had experience on television in the past, starring in the hit Canadian sitcom The Latest Buzz, which ran for many seasons and aired on the Family Channel. The Family Channel was one of the companies that had part ownership of Teletoon before getting completely absorbed by Chorus. Also, fun fact, Cameron Kennedy guest starred in an episode of The Latest Buzz. He ended up getting the role of Rory. Matthew Knight was most likely picked again because of his involvement with Cartoon Gene, but he also had an extensive acting history as a child, starring in straight-to-DVD movies and cult horror flicks until MBAV got picked up. He starred in the best movie ever, Gooby. Kate Todd is the only other person with notable previous acting experience. She had a recurring role in Life with Derek, along with
Joe Dinicole,
who played Jesse, and she also starred in the show Radio Free Roscoe with Nathan Stevenson, the guy who played Gord in the movie. Yes, that character does have a name, and yes, his name is Gord. He's my favorite character. I wish he stuck around more. My Babysitter's a Vampire was an experiment with live-action programming for the network and production company, which is something that is very important to understand going forwards. In the late 2000s, things for television were shaken by the 2007 Writers Guild of America strike, which taught companies the lesson of, since we have to start paying our writers more, we're only going to create television that doesn't need writers to work on it. Which is why so many reality TV shows cropped up and network decay commenced, which coincided with the internet taking over and networks now groveling to get people to keep their cable packages. Does this have anything to do with Canadian television? I have no idea. I'm not Canadian, if that wasn't already obvious, so I'm not sure if the American writers' strike affected all of North American productions or if it was just the United States. Again, the timing just seems to line up very well. Animation is expensive and time-consuming, so why not, as a way to maximize profits, start including TV shows with very cheap budgets and high turnaround times on your roster, because if they're popular, then the money just starts rolling in. At least that's what's supposed to happen. So the first season of the show originally aired on the French dub channel in February of 2011, and then a month later in March it aired in English on Teletoon. And then in June is when it first aired on Disney Channel. The movie, of course, originally had aired in October of 2010 on Teletoon and in June of 2011 on Disney Channel, just a few weeks before season 1 started airing. Not to spoil things later on, but the show was not that successful on Teletoon in Canada, and I'll give you 3 guesses as to why. In 2011, Disney Channel got the rights to air MBAV on their network in the United States. They aired it during Disney Channel Summer, which is when they have the most eyeballs on their channel, yet unceremoniously dumped the whole show in one go in quick succession, seemingly unwilling to give it the full red carpet treatment until it proved itself worthy of such. And it did. The series was a huge success, and that led to many bumper promotionals and primetime airing, and continued placement on Disney Channel's Monstober up until the modern day. My favorite little fun fact to tell people is that the premiere episode of Gravity Falls aired on the same day as the season 2 premiere episode of MBAV, and a lot of the promotionals around the time kind of anchored Gravity Falls to this show to get people interested in it. I don't know if that was the intention behind these bumpers, but that's the intention that I got. Like, here's an episode of MBAV that you already know and love. Here's an episode of Ant Farm starring an actor from My Babysitter's a Vampire. And then here's a brand new TV show. And we're hoping that the success of those other 2 shows will then get people to watch this brand new one.
Next Friday, Disney Channel summons you.
Is anyone else getting the creeps here?
Hello! For chills and heart-pounding thrills.
There's something behind me, isn't there?
Including the premiere of Disney Channel's brand new series, Gravity Falls. Go, 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 go! The night ignites with the return of Sarah in an all-new Babysitter.
Aren't you gonna invite me in?
Not everyone is happy to see her.
Quiet! Pipe down before you get eaten.
But wait, think you're seeing double?
All I have to do is show up with my face on.
Babysitter's Vanessa Morgan guest stars in a brand new Ant Farm.
I don't understand why everyone is so upset.
Try and guess Cameron's girlfriend's secret.
I was just playing my mother's ship.
I don't feel so well.
You monsters! Then it's a full hour of the brand new series, Gravity Falls.
Look alive, people.
Enter the Mystery Shack to meet Dipper and Mabel.
What the?
And stay for an all-new mystery.
Monster hunt! Are you scared?
Find out what creature lurks in the lake. Be here for one big night of premieres.
Whoa! I'm in!
Me too!
Next Friday, starting at 8/7 Central on Disney Channel.
Anyways, I've had Gravity Falls on the mind because my podcast with my friends we're now reviewing all of Gravity Falls, so make sure to go check out that first episode. It hopefully should be out by now. We previously reviewed every episode of My Babysitter's a Vampire, if you're wondering. Yes, I really do talk about this show that often. It is to be theorized that one of the big inspirations of MBAV was the movie My Best Friend is a Vampire. I mean, it's literally the same name. Like, it's so close. My Best Friend is a Vampire is a movie from the 1980s, and it stars the guy from House MD and a bunch of other stuff too, of course. And he gets turned into a vampire. It's quite a fun watch. It's very 1980s in a lot of elements, so, be aware of that. But, like, the 2 main characters' dynamic is literally just Ethan and Benny, and you can tell that there's a lot of inspiration being pulled from this movie into the My Babysitter's a Vampire movie. To get into conspiracy mode for a second, I think it would be very funny if they originally pitched, the duo, pitched a My Best Friend is a Vampire movie remake, and then Teletoon was like, we can't afford to like get the rights to do an official remake. And then they were just like, okay, well, we'll just like change a few things and we'll just like rub the serial numbers off, and then it'll be a new movie. And it's like not that well remembered of a film, so it's very possible that, you know, no one could have gone a long time without noticing. But the movie is for free to watch on YouTube as far as I'm aware, so go check it out. It's a great little piece of MBAV history if you're interested. I was involved in this project starting shortly after Ground Zero. Tom McGillis and Jen Perch had the original idea for Babysitter. I think they'd come up with that with Brian Irving and George Eliot. But it was quite different when it first started. They already had this fantastic 3-page pitch about the fundamentals of what the series is, all the core ideas of the story. I came in about early 2009 when Fresh TV wanted to do the movie. I looked at what they had and had some ideas of my own that involved adding some characters and changing some characters. If I think back to the original pitch, I think Ethan was a bit more of an average, skateboard crazy, everyman kid. I'm more of a geek. I ate at the nerd table in the cafeteria and had many nerdy friends, and we were always on the outside, so I pitched a version that was a little bit more about these outsiders. That was where I started, drawing from my own background. I brought that into the movie when I wrote it. The humor also comes from playing off the super serious and mundane. The 3 nerds may die trying to fight off a demon, but at the same time, they fail their math test and can't tell their teacher the reason is because they were up all night saving the world. If there's too much horror, we lose the funny, Burns adds. If characters are too stupid, they become unlikable because they don't take anything seriously. It's all about managing and balancing the little moments page by page. Let's talk about the MBAV Facebook group page, okay? Because it is a very, very important aspect of the whole history of MBAV and understanding what happened at the end of the day. There is a lot of information on the Facebook page, a lot of fan creation, a lot of very fun things if you're into MBAV. I don't know if it's possible to go in there and look for things anymore. The problem with the Facebook page and wanting to go back and look through things is that there is just so much spam and so much just like random crap in there that's at the very top. The reason for this is because there's no longer a moderator on there. Originally, all the social media from MBAV was created by the social media team at Fresh TV. So somebody who worked on their social media team called Christine was the moderator. But then she ended up getting a different job, so she decided to give the moderation up to a fan, and that person ran it for like a year, and then they stopped posting as well. So now there's just like random crap and spam in there. And what blows my mind, what boggles the mind, is that like people who worked on the show will still go to the Facebook page to like try and share things with fans. Like in 2022, right as I was making my original MBAV video, Tim Burns posted in the Facebook group page a picture of the Lucifractor, and he was like, "Ha, look, I still got it. It's a great paperweight." And like I was pissed off because I was like, no one fucking saw this. I mean, of course I did, but that's because I'm me. No one saw this. It would have been nice if he put it on fucking Twitter. Or I know people don't post on Tumblr, like official people, but like if you would have put it on Tumblr, that shit would have gone nuclear. Like everyone would have been talking about it. And that's just because the people who worked on this show, they don't know. They don't know that there's still a fandom and that it's on Tumblr or a little bit on Twitter and a little bit on TikTok. They're just not aware, and that's fine. They don't need to be aware, but like, I don't know, if you want to post something, make sure you post it in the right places. Back in the day, right as Season 2 was airing, there was a lot of posts happening. A lot of stuff, including about the ship wars, which still blows my mind. Like, I still can't believe that people watched the 2-parter finale, and instead of caring about whether everyone was alive or not, or what happened in the explosion, people were too busy ranting about if you shipped Ethera or Bethan. It blows my mind. There was apparently this whole drama that happened in late 2012, early 2013. Apparently things were getting toxic in there because there's a lot of archive posts on Tumblr of people being like, I gotta stop going on the Facebook group page because it's just like toxic as hell in there. Which again is funny. It's like, this is MBAV. Like, is it that serious, guys? I mean, it's serious to me, but like the fandom stuff at least, I don't know. When you get a bunch of 12-year-olds to care about Seraphon, and then you get a bunch of other 12-year-olds to care about Bethan, things get crazy. So Mike Kiss was one of the lead writers on My Babysitter's Vampire. He was the McFingers guy in that episode about the coffee zombies. This is a great show, guys. I love it so much. He was also somebody who commented a lot on the Facebook page under people's posts. You would constantly see people be going, "Hey, Mike Kiss, what do you think about this?" or "What's your opinion on this?" and he responded to a lot of people. And then of course there's Ellen Fine. I love you, bestie. She was the main editor for the series. Apparently some drama went down with Mike Kiss. We don't have the context because people only screenshotted his comments and not the posts that he was commenting under. Again, the same problem that happened with the Tim Burns post, where everyone got his comment and didn't include the context as to why he was saying this. So we don't know what provoked Mike Kiss to say all of these things, but he essentially went on a rant about why MBAV wasn't getting a season 3 and what was going on with it. And what's weird is that when I went into the Facebook group page and keyword searched Mike Kiss, none of the posts that he had made or nothing about his account was coming up. So what it seems like is that in February of 2013, a bunch of drama was happening. There was stuff about shipping and where's the 3rd season, what's going on, guys, and Mike Kiss went on a rant. And these comments were screenshotted and archived on Tumblr. They're nowhere to be found anymore. And then, at some point in February, I think Mike Kiss deleted his Facebook page, because in February of 2013, there was a person who made a post in the Facebook group page like, hey, where are you, Mike Kiss? I saw you were doing a lot of talking in the comment sections of posts, and now they're all gone. And do you guys know where he is? Because I've seen these comments on Tumblr, but I can't find them on the Facebook group page. And Julie Giles was like, oh yeah, that was him that made those comments. And that's it. She just like confirmed that they weren't fake screenshots, that they were real screenshots. And then that's it. So I think he said a bunch of shit. He ran his mouth on Facebook and deleted his account, or was told to delete his account, which is even more spooky. I mean, what he said in those comments is very revealing and has a lot to do with why MBAV was canceled, but we'll talk more about those comments later on in the video. So the Facebook group page is an integral part of understanding the culture of the MBAV fandom and MBAV as a whole. Knowing that MBAV was made by Teletoon informs a big chunk of this section, which is that the show had to be censored to air on Disney Channel in America, and it's still got a PG rating. So originally the only clues of the fact that MBAV was censored was a video uploaded to YouTube comparing certain scenes that people had found. A person who had watched the show in America was friends with somebody who watched it on Teletoon in Canada, and as they were watching it live on TV together, they noticed that there were certain differences. So they compiled the differences that they noticed and they put it into a YouTube video, and that blew my mind as a kid. When I was a young person and I was going on YouTube trying to find MBAV stuff, and that was like one of the first things I saw, it blew my mind. Because like so many criticisms I had of the show as like an edgy middle schooler was that it wasn't like edgy enough, it wasn't rebellious enough, it didn't like lean into the vampirism as much as you thought it would, and it totally did. It's just that Disney Channel cut it all out. And then the problem with DVDs of the show was that they were all made after it aired on Disney Channel, and a lot of the DVDs were made by Disney Channel. So many DVD copies and many releases of MBAV was from the American Disney Channel edit. And I'm saying American edition because like America's whole thing around censorship and children's media is like a bit wackadoo. So like in other countries, this version would be just fine for television for children, but in America, it's like too risque. But because Disney Channel was like one of the main like global distributors, that meant that like globally, the show was released censored. When it came to the movie, the only places you could find the movie uncensored was from a DVD release before season 1 had come out, specifically by the company Phase 4 Films. Luckily, Anakin was able to purchase a copy of MBAV that was released by Phase 4 Productions, and so we have the uncensored movie in its entirety. Originally, the only way you could find the movie and series as a whole uncensored was in the French dub, because MBAV actually aired in French before it aired in English on Teletoon. Teletoon has a French-only, like, sister channel, and MBAV aired on there first, so they did not make the edits, they did not do the edits in the French version. We then learned that DVD releases of the show in the UK were fully uncensored, because again, the whole rating system everywhere but America is a little bit more logical. So we have the uncensored moments. If you want to watch a comparison video, it's again on my friend Anakin's YouTube channel. Go check it out. I helped contribute making it. In short, it's just like a bunch of like them drinking blood and inappropriate jokes. Like Jesse calls them all virgins in the original movie. It's so funny. The prevailing theory so far is that all of season 2 has no uncensored moments because it was the first time the show was being created with the understanding that it was going to air in America. So they specifically wrote the scripts or maybe cut out things from the script that relayed that understanding. I think I mentioned this later in the video as well, but I wanted to, mention it here just in case. Speaking of season 2, it happened. It got released at some point in time. To be specific, season 2 of MBAV actually released earlier on Disney Channel than it did on Teletoon. My theories for this is that the show was doing much better in Disney Channel. Well, that's not a theory, that's real, that is true. The show was doing better on Disney Channel than it was on Teletoon, but my theory as to why season 2 aired earlier on Disney Channel is that reason. So in June of 2012 is when it aired on Disney Channel, and in September of 2012 is when it aired on Teletoon, a good few months after, and it didn't air on the French channel until October of 2012. Oh, how the tables have turned, I guess. The show was a big success on Disney Channel like we've already talked about, so after the season 2 cliffhanger, many people were wondering how the show ended and when an announcement on a third season would be happening. This is where things get depressing, okay? As the years went on, people said they were being patient, and then eventually people got worried. And then after that, people just officially decided that the show was over and that it wasn't coming back. In 2013, you get a lot of people harassing people who worked on the show, and I say harassing lightly. It wasn't actual harassment, just you see a lot of comments of people being like, hey, where's the show? But by 2014, people are getting more desperate. They specifically aired My Babysitter's Vampire on YTV, which is the Teen Nick to Teletoon's Toon Nick, if that makes sense. So really the place where MBAV should have originally aired and not an animation network, because YTV was known for having children's sitcoms at the time. Famously, the TV show Life with Boys aired on YTV, and an episode of Life with Boys actually had Cameron Kennedy in it. It was one of the last things he ever acted in. So as the show was airing on YTV, there was a whole social media campaign made by people on Tumblr to try and get the show renewed. This is famously the MBAV Social Media Challenge, and many people still participate in it to this day. It's a really fun thing that, you can do once a week and spans over a few months. And it was originally created in hopes of getting the show renewed, 2 years after it had been off the air. But of course, in 2015, there was some somewhat official news about the show's cancellation that finally came out. There was never an official statement made by Teletoon or Fresh TV, ever. Just people who worked on the show, who for years had probably already known that the show was never going to come back, finally coming out of the woodworks to explain what happened. I want to talk about the official decree of MBAV being canceled, and this happened in
2015.
There is surprisingly a lot of misinformation about where this statement from Tim Burns came from. So Tim Burns made a statement in 2016 about the cancellation. Where did it come from? When you Google why was My Babysitter's a Vampire canceled, the first thing that comes up is a blog called the All Things My Babysitter's a Vampire blog. And on there they have a post talking about how Tim Burns said this statement, and then it includes the full statement. So whenever people talk about why the show was canceled and they try to do research into it, this is what they find, and then that's as far as they go. I've heard so many crazy things as to where this came from, whether it was an email or a response to a letter that he got in the mail, and none of that's true, okay? The MBAV Facebook group page is where this comment is from. And, I completely understand why people don't know this information. Not everyone has a PhD in MBAV like I do, so I don't want to shame anybody who had made videos spreading this unknown and misinformation around, but it is the case that this has happened, so that's why I'm here to do the research and provide all this information for you guys. And by comment, I mean literal comment. It was a comment he left under a post that somebody had made in the Facebook group page. I have found the link, and I will leave it in the description below. Go look at the post yourself. It was made by somebody called... Ow! I hit my hand on the counter. I found the post, I scrolled, I spent hours going through the Facebook page to find this official post because I knew that this was a comment left onto the Facebook page because I did my research and I figured it out. It is kind of like a conversation that people who were there at the time when it happened have been talking about. And the problem is you can't look up his comment because only posts show up when you look things up in the keyword search, not comments. So you had to know what was in the original post, which no one does. But I found it. Here it is in its entirety.
To Christine Thompson, the producers, and all the fans of My Babysitter's a Vampire. Hi, I'm a fan of the MBAV series from Italy. I hope you can answer to my questions, very important to me. Personally, I really love the series, and I accept sadly that it has passed over 3 years since the final cliffhanger of the show. I searched everywhere. Forums, Facebook groups, Facebook pages of the series and producers, Teletoon website, but nothing. Since 3 years, every month, every time I think about it and how much I miss it, I search the news of the show. When I heard the idea to do at least a second movie, I was happy. I think a final movie was very much for all the fans in the world, because in the world we are, in USA, Italy, France, and Germany, Russia, Spain, South America, and many other countries. All of us, like me, have always searched news about the show. There are people that can't resign to the idea of the cliffhanger, so they make fan fictions. One day I have found that website, Humans vs. Vampires. In this, there was a game and some information about the show. It was good. One day, weeks ago, I couldn't find the website. It was deleted. The game is now only available on Play Store, iTunes, etc. That was like I realized the show was losing always more and more importance. It's sad today to find only news about the show that are of 2 years ago. People don't hope for a more continuous, very few people talk about that. Anyway, I understand if you can't do very much because you can't find a broadcaster. Now, I just want an honest, definitive answer. Are you actually working to create a second movie? I know you can't make a third season, but a movie, just one movie. Please answer sincerely. I hope you are still working to make a second movie. If you have deleted all the projects from above, I'll understand, sadly. I know all of us seems crazy. You adults maybe think, how can a show matter so much for us teenagers? I don't know. Finally, I don't want to seem angry with you because maybe you have decided to finish off the BAF for internal problems. I would say to you, thanks for having created that fantastic show. Maybe in the future when you have free time for that, can you tell us more of the guys? I mean, I know you aren't writers, but you can try to write on that website, or where you want, to continue for the series, like a book. What happened after the Lucifractor? New adventures with Jesse, Sarah, Ethan, Benny, etc. I emphasize Jesse because it's an infrequent character but my favorite. I know you are professional, so that request is really stupid, but at least I tried to request to you that. Hope for your answer. Greetings from Italy. P.S. Sorry for my wrong English, I do what I can.
Hey Laura, I like your post and I feel your pain. As one of the executive producers and the head writer quote-unquote showrunner of the series, all I can say is that we tried very hard to make a season 3 or a second movie happen. The Lucifractor storyline was my idea in the first place, and I did have some solutions in mind for how we would continue the story. I even created a few different scenarios for the second movie, but we hit nothing but problems with broadcasters, budgets, and some difficulties keeping the cast together. It's not surprising that such talented young actors want to move on to other things. All I can say is that it was just as sad for us as it was for you to see the series cut short at the season 2 cliffhanger. I haven't completely given up hope that the story will continue someday, even if it means doing so with the next generation of characters. It's out of my power, I'm just a writer. But the entire team of writers, actors, and producers who created the show are proud of the series, and it means a great deal that loyal fans like you still keep the flame alive. I wish I had better news, but all I can say is thanks for your support, and sorry that we left everyone hanging. If we ever find a way to raise MBV from the grave, I hope you and the other loyal fans aren't too old to still enjoy it. Thanks for being a fan. P.S. Your English is fine, and I know where the Lucifractor is now. It's on my desk.
Thanks for your answer, Tim Burns. Really glad to receive it from one of the executive producers. I understand that problems. But Bav will always be in my heart. Thanks again for your satisfactory answer. Bye.
Hey Julie Giles, are we getting any closer to hearing MBV Season 3 news?
No, I know I promised an update mid-January, but we are not there yet. I know that everyone has been more than patient. Hang in there. Hello, I saw a tweet of Vanessa Morgan that say My Babysitter's a Vampire. Someone in my question is if you're planning on doing a movie or a season 3.
No, she wants us to, but we aren't working on a new movie.
But what is the problem in not making a movie? So many people want to continue with MBAV.
It costs many millions, so you need partners to get together to make it happen. They tried to get the series launched again a few years ago, but there wasn't enough interest.
Okay, time for the big, juicy one. Okay. I can promise you that Disney isn't waiting. Even though this show was huge for them, in many markets, they have other streams of revenue. This means that not only can they just move on, but also that they would air this show in 10 years if they could make a buck off of it. Anyway, here's what I saw. This was a sort of live-action experiment for Teletoon, an animation network. They weren't quite sure if it would work and wanted to see its performance before committing to another run. By the way, in Canada, season 1 usually airs, and then a 2-season run is ordered off the back end of that season, to take the total to 3. Rare that season 2 is immediate. MBV takes a lot longer to post than most shows, so Teletoon had to wait for that. They aired 4 eps as a test several months after production. They pretty much died. The show then went into limbo. There was talk about 26 more episodes, which was cut to 13, but only once the show was a hit on Disney. I don't know for sure, but it felt like the idea was that they'd go for another season if the show was a hit. Season 1 did nothing for Teletoon. Understandably, they weren't in a rush to renew. We were already done with season 2 by that point, so Teletoon decided to wait again. It's easy for everyone, including myself, to say that it's an easy decision. The show was huge. You make more. But it wasn't successful for the people who made it. I, admittedly, have no idea how season 2 did for Teletoon. That would likely make all the difference. I'm 35. I manned up a long time ago. Also, people are talking, still talking, about this show's future. If the relevant parties wanted this show dead, it would be dead. It isn't. I honestly don't know what's happening, mainly because I'm running another show, as much as I'd like to eat ribs and wait for a renewal on this one. Go off, King. Anyways. And this show was the most fun I've ever had, ever. No one has their hopes up as high as I do. The stuff Cameron and I worked up for Rory, I'm gonna drown my sorrows in candy if I don't get to do it.
Is it fully in frame? Is it fully in frame? I think so. I hope so. So let's attempt to do it right here, right now, and answer the age-old question. Why was My Babysitter's a Vampire canceled? Why do I have so many hair splinges is another age-old question. The short answer is low ratings. It didn't perform well, so it got canceled. Now the long answer is a lot more complicated and a little bit more interesting. So as we've already established, My Babysitter's a Vampire was created on Teletoon and in Canada. And as we already know, Teletoon was an animated-based network. So My Babysitter's a Vampire was their first attempt to create live-action programming. You guys remember CN Real? When Cartoon Network tried to do a bunch of live-action programming and it pretty much failed? Well, this is the same case for Teletoon, except they didn't get as far into their live-action creating career before getting canned. I forgot to turn the lights on! No! MBAV very much could have been just another one of these failed live-action programs that no one has seen and no one remembers. I don't even have any examples to give you. I'm gonna have to put some examples right here on the screen so you know what I'm talking about. Shows that people watched at the time and then got canceled and got forgotten to time and no one remembers. My Babysitter's a Vampire could fully be one of those series if it wasn't for the fact that Disney Channel bought the rights to air it on their network. It seems that however Disney Channel found out about the show, they realized that it could do really well and get them some really great numbers on their network. So that's why they bought the rights to play it. Of course, with a little bit of tinkering here and there. Because while MBAV wasn't the first ever PG movie to air on Disney Channel, I think the rights to that goes to Holes. It was the first ever PG television show to air on Disney Channel. Mike Kiss made plenty of comments alluding to this fact, that the show performed horribly in Canada, but did amazing in America. So it was a huge success for Disney Channel, but a huge failure for Teletoon. And the problem with that is that Disney Channel was not funding any of the production around MBAV. They had nothing to do with the creation besides what happened to it after it was already fully made when it got censored. And for season 2, we don't even know if that was the case. Season 2 was the first season, as far as I'm aware, that was made with the knowledge that it was going to air in America. So as far as we're aware, there is no like uncensored version of season 2. They created it with the knowledge that it would need to have certain jokes not included at all. My evidence for this is that they did a bunch of behind the scenes stuff for season 1 while they were filming season 2 for Disney XD. So if you watch some Disney XD bumpers that have been uploaded to YouTube, they are filming on the set of season 2 talking about behind the scenes information from season 1.
Hey, we're about to reveal some secrets about the upcoming episode of My Babysitter's a Vampire, the series.
Ever want to be a cheerleader? Ethan and Benny have.
I think they both look better with wigs on. We can see less of their face.
You don't think I've been tortured enough?
You know what? I can do this. Giant feet, the Adam's apple. Yeah.
I just had a terrible vision.
Ditto! That's a good look for you. I like it.
Join us for My Babysitter's a Vampire, the series.
Right now on Disney XD.
Cheerleading's my favorite.
So they fully knew the show was airing on Disney Channel and Disney XD while they were recording season 2, and assuming that they knew the case while they were making the scripts, or they just made changes on set to further reflect that. There's this very eerie comment made by Mike Kiss before he deleted his Facebook page, I think, that really speaks to this. Like, yeah, Disney Channel doesn't care if the show doesn't get to reach its full potential. They still got all the pennies they needed out of it, so it doesn't matter if it ended on a cliffhanger. Why would they bother investing money to continue the series when they're already making as much money as they probably possibly could off of it with the ending that it already has? Like, if the ending really sparked people to not want to watch the show or to boycott Disney Channel, then maybe they would have considered picking it up. But in 2013, the whole series was uploaded to Netflix, and at that point, it's like it just exists as this forgotten shell of a possibly big television show that got ended too early because of money issues. So as far as I'm aware, during the writing of the film, it was already decided that they were going to greenlight a TV show that continued the story. As season 1 was airing in Canada on Teletoon, it pretty much died. That's what Mike Kiss said. But as far as I'm aware, since it was doing well in other countries on Disney Channel, Teletoon decided to greenlight a second season because of buildup of hype. But when season 2 ultimately also performed poorly on Teletoon in Canada, they decided to cut their losses and they canceled the show. Showrunner Tim Burns decided to create the Lucifractor plotline and the 2-part cliffhanger at the end as a way to encourage the production team to continue the show or at least make a final movie. I think the idea of a final movie was essentially only pitched as a compromise since they were already like, you are not getting a third season, it is not going to happen. So a movie was then pitched as a compromise, and that also ended up not happening as well. I think this is a thing that a lot of writers end up doing. They're like, well, because of artistic integrity, they can't cancel the series. They can't get rid of it because it'll leave a lot of people angry. And the people who are funding the show basically say, so? Who cares? We're not getting our money back on this investment, so we are canceling the project. Television networks, executives, producers, they don't care about artistic integrity. To them, this is not about creating art, this is about making money. So if the show isn't making money, then the show needs to stop existing. It's also the reason why so many projects go on for too long, because these networks are like, this is making us money, it needs to continue forever. Because there was potential for there to be hype about the show, that is why they greenlit season 2. And you see this a lot with streaming services in the modern day. People will go to watch a TV show in its first season, the whole thing drops at once, and they sit there and they watch the whole thing in one sitting and they go, this is the best show ever. And then 5 days later they stop talking about it and it's already yesterday's news. But because of that initial fan hype, the network decided to greenlight a second season. So when the second season comes out and people are less hyped about it, season 2 underperforms. And because these streaming services are all working on a loss, they're not making any money with their streaming model because it was never created to make money, which is its own issue unto itself, by the way, but that's a discussion for another day. Because season 2 underperforms, they just decide to cut their losses and continue on with another project. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a lot of behind the scenes, trying to work out some sort of deal to get the series concluded, and that eventually just didn't end up happening. Although who knows, maybe there was one meeting and it was decided, and all of the back and forth on the Facebook group was just people refusing to admit the truth. As for Tim Burton's sentiment that actors did not want to come back to the project, that is something that I fully believe because, well, these people had all just graduated high school. They were thinking this was just going to be a minor blip in their career and they were going to go on to do better things. And for some of them, they did. And for others, they definitely didn't. Also, it's hard to play a character who is frozen at the age of 15 when you're now in your early 20s and more yoked than a great Italian pasta. I can't think of a better joke, so that's just the one we're going to have to keep. Some DMs that we have of somebody communicating with someone who worked at Fresh TV, the person who probably just managed all the social media. Vanessa seemed to be the only person who actually wanted to get the show back in some way. Everyone else was fully willing to just admit, okay, it was a failed project, now we have to find our next job. Not that Vanessa wasn't also doing that, but she probably was the only actor who was actively advocating as much as she could for the continuation of the series. Atticus Mitchell, very notably, very soon after the cancellation of MBAV, was in another sitcom which also got canceled after one season. So a part of me deep down thinks that this actor said no to coming back purely because he thought that this show was going to be the next big thing and something he'd be able to work on for another few years, and he wouldn't have time to come back to MBAV. But that also ended up just ending. I tried to watch a few episodes, it's bad. It's a bad show. So even though the show was canceled, Disney Channel continued to air it on their network and get a lot of money and hype out of it. Previously I had said that my theory was that a majority of people actually watched MBAV on Disney XD and not on Disney Channel because a lot of people remember it around the Halloween advertising when it initially first aired in Disney Channel Summer when there was no Halloween aesthetic applied to it at all.
Sizzling series.
Disney Channel Summer is Ant Farm.
My Babysitter's a Vampire.
So random.
And I don't want to rescind that comment, but I want to add to it, because for the many years, up until the modern day, Disney Channel has aired MBAV on their network for Disney's Monstober. So because the first time the series ever aired, it was all within a month in June, I would not be surprised if most people watched it on reruns during Disney Channel's Monstober. I know for sure that I would always make sure to DVR it every time, and I would try to watch it on Halloween Day. It became a tradition of mine until I eventually got Netflix, and then I could just watch it on there. I realized why I don't stand while I record. I am all over the place in the frame. I'm just jumping around over here. Oh. Okay. I almost knocked over my CD player, that's why I stopped, if you were wondering. I need to get an X on the floor. I need to stand on my mark and not move. I'm just gonna stand here, stiff as a board. So yes, My Babysitter's a Vampire was created to fulfill an expectation, and it did not reach that expectation, so it was prematurely canceled. And it's such a shame, because apparently this show was a lot of fun to work on, and everyone who worked on the project loved it immensely. All of the writers who were commenting on the series all had nice things to say about the progress of working on the show, even though they had bad things to say about the network they were working for. All of the actors had nice and wonderful things to say about their experience working on the show. So many people said it was their favorite set experience ever. A lot of the cast became friends outside of the show. There's a plenty of tweets from Cameron Kennedy and Vanessa Morgan talking about how they're all just hanging out outside of the show, going to see movies and just getting coffee together. It's honestly truly so adorable and nice to hear about, because so many projects that dealt with actors at this age range and were made for places like Disney Channel have horrible experiences for everyone who works on it. So there. That is why, inevitably, My Babysitter's a Vampire was canceled. Do you ever feel like you've reached a point in your life where you're at a point where everything is different afterwards, that after this moment nothing is going to be the same? That feels what I feel like right now. Filming this right now, I feel like things are different. Now that I've finally said it and I've admitted it, and I've understood, I've done all the research, I've kind of gone a little bit insane trying to figure out what happened with MBAV and its cancellation. And now that I've found out and I've finally told it out loud, it hasn't just been something that's been stewing in my mind. I feel like I don't know where to go from here. Not really, I do. I definitely do know what I'm going to do with the channel and stuff. I'm going to be talking about more Disney Channel sitcoms in general, pop music, everything. I have no issues about thinking about what's going to happen with the channel. What I do have issues about, though, is when it comes to MBAV videos. Am I going to continue to talk about this series now that I've very possibly almost said everything I have to say about the show? I mean, who knows? I might still come up with a video every once in a while, next Halloween or during Disney Channel summer, but yeah, I feel like this is it. Like, I'm done now. Like, I can pass on, even without doing all these other plans I have, and still be like, I finally set the record straight. And all me and my friends have done all this work together and created a beautiful community and have resonated with each other with this knowledge. And that feels good. Like, I feel happy. Like, I'm glad that I was able to do this. And I feel really stupid with this fucking axe in my head right now. Let's just take that off, because, yeah. So for those who don't know, Teletoon doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, it died. It actually died the same month that I dropped my first initial MBAV video, which is crazy. I think it was literally the night after I had dropped my MBAV video. I was up late, still doing research about MBAV, because of course I was. I was essentially writing what the script I have been saying right now has been. I was just doing some casual writing for eventually what would be the script for this video, and I decided to look up Teletoon, and I got scared. Like, it freaked me out. Like, I wish I took more screenshots, because when I clicked on the Teletoon Wikipedia page, it said, on 5 hours from now, Teletoon is no longer going to exist, and it is officially going to become Cartoon Network Canada. And I went to bed. The next morning I woke up and I looked up Teletoon, and everything that came up when I looked up Teletoon was now Cartoon Network. And then with a little asterisk, like, in Canada, if you're looking for Teletoon specifically. And it was scary. It was like I watched Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It was spooky. And I started freaking out because I was like, oh no. Like, I just uploaded a 2.5-hour video about this whole thing, and this has just happened. What is going on? Luckily, I only briefly mentioned Teletoon in that video, so no one, like, commented or even bothered to care about the fact that, like, hey, Teletoon is dead. Did you know that? You're talking about the thing that Teletoon is probably most known about? Well, no, that's a lie. But you're talking about one of the series that Teletoon is most known for creating, and it's dead, and it's gone, and it's your fault. Like, I thought people were going to comment that, and no one did, because no one fucking cares, I guess. As far as everyone's aware, 16 and Total Drama are Cartoon Network shows, and My Babysitter's a Vampire is a Disney Channel show. Because Teletoon, who cares? Who cares about Teletoon? I care about Teletoon. You want to know why? The reason why I care about Teletoon is because I care about MBAV. And to understand what happened with Teletoon is to understand how MBAV got canceled. Teletoon was merged with Cartoon Network in 2013, barely a year after MBAV was canceled. And this was already after the point that See and Reel had flopped, as far as I'm aware. And then within a decade, within 10 years, Teletoon would cease to exist. Well, that's not entirely true. The name and brand of Teletoon does technically still exist. However, it is now called Teletoon Plus. That's correct. Teletoon Plus is now a streaming service. And no, My Babysitter's Vampire is not on there. It's essentially just a bunch of Cartoon Network shows. Like, if you wanted a place in Canada to watch Adventure Time, you know, some actual Teletoon shows like Total Drama and 16, then that's where you go. In 2013, MBAV was added to Netflix, and on the 10-year anniversary of the show being canceled, it was removed from Netflix. Yeah, in October of 2012 is when the finale aired originally, and in October of 2022, it was deleted off of Netflix. And it occasionally will pop up on, like, Roku channel or some other, like, free streaming service, but it's fully gone. It's not on any streaming service anymore. It is on YouTube. Go check out Ethan's upload channel. I genuinely want people, as many people as possible, to watch this project, because if people watch it, then it continues on and people will keep remembering it. I don't need it to come back or get a requel or anything like that. Personally, like, I've made my peace. But if people just watch the show and still know it exists, then it won't face that horrible, horrible fate that a lot of shows that get canceled prematurely get, which is just being forgotten. And some may say, who cares if it gets forgotten? Who cares if the show doesn't get remembered in time? Well, I care, not only because I've invested so much time, effort, and money to caring about this project, but also because I want all of this mess to mean something at the end of the day, if that makes any sense. Like, what was the point of creating this show that had a lot of creativity and interesting ideas around it if it just got axed and then no one remembered it existed? To make all of this worth it, MBAV has to be remembered and honored as one of the best pieces of children's television media to come out of the 2010s. Because it is, goddammit. So just because I've made my peace with it never coming back does not mean I've made my peace with it getting forgotten, because I genuinely do believe it doesn't deserve that fate. So there we go. There's the point. Is this the end of the video? I'm not sure yet. I haven't started editing it yet. I feel a tightening in my chest thinking about all of this, and I'm just so genuinely grateful and honored that people care and click on these videos and watch them, because it's another piece of evidence. It's another piece of evidence towards this show meaning something and mattering to people. And that is really what I care about at the end of the day. Yes, the conclusion of the video was thing matters, like every fucking YouTube video conclusion is. I'm sorry, guys, I'm that predictable. So it is currently Halloween 2024, the day that I'm supposed to be releasing this video. It's around 1 in the morning, and I am still debating whether or not I'm actually going to talk about this and I'm actually going to put this topic in the video. But I think at the end of the day, it's important enough that I talk about this because it is so unknown for some reason. So I'm talking about it now. Ian and Lynne, also known as Darian Bats on TikTok, uploaded a video alleging that they were groomed by Atticus Mitchell, the actor who plays Benny. I'm going to be saying the word alleged a lot in this video, even though personally I believe everything in these videos, but just in case, because nothing has been proven as fact, in a court of law especially, I am going to be saying the word alleged, but just know that personally I believe everything that Ian says in these videos. In the original video, it is set to the song 29 by Demi Lovato, and they include a lot of evidence of their relationship existing and when it had existed. She was 16 when Atticus Mitchell was 23. On a video uploaded the next day, on November 15th, she went into more detail about the situation. She specified that on Instagram, when she was 16 years old, she would comment under his posts, and he eventually started DMing her after responding to a lot of her comments. And allegedly, for years, they DM'd back and forth, and everything was very platonic, very friendly, until the minute that she turned 18. As soon as she turned 18, his messages towards her started getting more romantic, and they started a romantic relationship. And at one point, he actually flew out to meet her in person, and they spent a few days together. I'm going to be including clips from her statement in this video, but I'm not going to upload the full thing. Please go to her TikTok account and watch all the videos for yourself. They will all be linked in the description below.
I kind of just want to make a video regarding my last video. Just like kind of go from the beginning, give you a little more insight. As a child, I obviously was a really big fan of the Disney show that, I'll name him since I already did, Atticus Mitchell was on. Around the age of 14 or 15, I started commenting a lot on his Instagram, started commenting on his social media, because like I said, I was a really big fan. I was a fangirl, if we're being honest. He followed me back around the age of 15, but he didn't start engaging with me until I was around the age of 16. The fact that he even was messaging me, like, had me so starstruck. Like, I was just in awe, because obviously I really loved the show. He was my favorite character. I thought he was really cute. None of the messages were bad. We exchanged numbers. Wasn't anything romantic or anything sexual at all until the minute I turned 18. After I turned 18, it was very romantic. He was acting like he wanted to be in a relationship with me. Might I add, again, when I was 16, he was 23, 7 years older than me. So when I was 18, he was 25. I'm a child. I didn't see anything wrong with this at the time. This continued. At the age of 20, he actually flew to my state and came and stayed for 4 days. I won't get into detail what happened. A few months after that, he, quote unquote, ended things with me. And that's not why I'm making this video at all. I'm making this video, and I made that video previously because I didn't realize in the 4 years that this had happened that I had been groomed. And it really sucks that I was groomed by someone who has so much popularity, especially on TikTok. And, you know, a bunch of girls my age who just fangirl and, you know, all of that. I made that video because I don't want anyone to go through what I went through. I live my day-to-day life disgusted with myself for what happened, and I know I shouldn't do that because it's not my fault. It's not my fault at all. I never want this man to have control over anyone ever again. And I'm sorry to crush y'all's dreams, and I'm sorry to ruin y'all's childhood, but please stay safe from these predators, please.
So all of those were uploaded in 2022, but on March 11th, 2024, she released another follow-up video. Because it had been a few years, and the original post she had made was her pinned post on her TikTok account, and people were asking her about it. And in this video, she rehashes what she had said previously, and also comments that people had been DMing her and telling her that they also had a very similar experience with Atticus Mitchell in the past. Some of the people allegedly being as young as 13 years old.
I didn't ever want to be making this video. If you've seen my pin video that I made almost 2 years ago, one of the things that I said in one of the videos after that, like posted directly after that, is I hope that this never happens to another person. Since I've posted that video, I've had like 5 people reach out to me saying that the same thing happened to them, and they were all underage. They were all under the age of 18. And people are going to comment, I know people are going to comment, oh, the age of consent is this, the age of consent is this. If someone has teen in their name and you're a fully grown adult, then maybe you shouldn't be pursuing them. One of the girls I'm pretty good friends with now. Like, we're super cool, we talk a lot, and, like, she's great. But, she just sent me a text the other day from a TikTok. And apparently there's a lot more victims than I thought there were. I saw a comment of a girl who said she was 13. I was 16 when this happened to me. And you know, I didn't know this happened to me until I was like a full-blown adult. But 13? Fucking 13? That's crazy. I saw multiple comments on that video of girls who said that they talked to him and they had been through the same thing. And I commented under every single comment that said that. And said to check my pinned video. Because I want these girls to know that I went through that too. And like, my parents didn't even know where I was. And like, I was legal, I was 20. But like, it's the fact that I had to hide it that I now know lets me know that it fucked up. And now I'm finding out that there's so many more people that have been through this than just me. And like I said in my last video, like, that's the fucking last thing that I wanted. makes me feel horrible. And, like, I know I can't stop it, but I can at least put myself and my story and my message out there, and hopefully it reaches someone. Or the girls. The young girls. The young girls who were being affected by this. Because I was you at one point. If you've talked to this man, I've realized now that I haven't even said his name. If you've talked to Atticus Mitchell, and you were a young girl, and you feel like, not even feel like, if you've been groomed and abused by this man, please reach out to me. I've had multiple girls reach out to me, and please reach out to me. I would love to talk to you. I would love to have your input and your insight and listen to what you went through and hopefully relate to you. Fuck Atticus Mitchell. And anyone who has went through the manipulation and the grooming and the abuse by the hands of that man, I hope you're doing okay. And I am with you and I support you.
This is, of course, all horrible and disgusting and deplorable. So if you're wondering why, in my original MBAV video that I made back in March of 2023, why I was very dismissive and did not like Atticus Mitchell, this is why. I get so many comments up to this day, a year and a half, almost 2 years later, asking, what did Atticus Mitchell do? Why does everyone hate him? I can't find anything when I look it up. So I am talking about it now, so hopefully when people Google Atticus Mitchell allegations, this video will come up, or something about this topic will come up. The thing is that Atticus Mitchell was on a children's television show when he himself was a child. And he was then, all of a sudden, in his mid-20s, still getting comments from children who liked him and had a crush on him from the TV show he was in when he himself was a child. And he then decided to interact with romantic relationships with these fans as soon as they turned 18. That is a horrible abuse of power. It is, I can't even imagine doing something like that, I myself being in my 20s now. The reason why grooming is talked about so much these days is because there was no word that a majority of people knew and understood for this kind of behavior. It's very similar with sexual harassment. There was many women who entered the workforce in the 70s who were then quitting, but couldn't really describe or explain what they were experiencing in work. So attaching a name to that emotion and experience is what was then allowed for it to be revealed and become a real thing. So now that people who are grown-ups are learning what grooming is, they are now looking back in their childhoods and realizing that they themselves had experienced this exact thing. And a big problem with this is that the laws have not in any way caught up to social media. This man deliberately went out of his way to do his best to be fully within the law. He did not engage in romantic relationships with any of these people until they were of legal age. And as far as we're aware, he did not ask for anything explicit be sent to him in these DMs. So yes, everything is above board, everything is completely legal. But morally, it's fucked up. To use whatever little power you have as a D-list actor to groom children into becoming your partners is fucked up. Not only as an actor in a children's show do you have a responsibility, but as a grown-up, you have a responsibility to not behave this way, to not take advantage of young people who don't know better. Because of course, if you were freshly 18 and your childhood crush from your favorite TV show growing up wanted to be in a relationship with you, you would say yes. It's only in hindsight do you realize how messed up the whole situation is, when you yourself turn 25 and realize, I would never even think about dating someone who was 18, especially someone that I knew when they were 16. See, the thing is that Atticus Mitchell isn't even that famous of an actor. Every project that he's been in has him heavily typecasted. He has always been the side character, best friend to the main character, never himself an important role in any show he's been in. All the things he's been in has got canceled prematurely. The only thing that's had any somewhat success after MBAV has been maybe the Hardy Boys. So you can do whatever you want with this information, but me personally, I have no qualms with no longer supporting this actor because I find his alleged actions to be disgusting. This man hasn't even been in enough stuff to get the Johnny Depp treatment, so it blows me away that there are people who still defend this guy out there. And I understand most people don't know about what happened, so they're ignorant to the situation and that's why they still fawn over him or whatever. But me, personally, and plenty of friends that I have online have been harassed by people who are still defenders of Atticus Mitchell. And see, this isn't drama. This isn't something to fawn over and make this salacious thing that we talk about for a week and then forget about. This is real people's lives who are actually affected by this man's disgusting behavior. So the reason why I inevitably decided to talk about this topic and put it in this video is because I did not want to have to make a thumbnail and a salacious title about this subject, because I feel like the people who were victims of this man don't deserve that. And as for the harassment, I have wanted to talk about it for a while now, but also I haven't wanted to because it's not that big of a deal at the end of the day. Who cares that I've been getting anonymous hate spam sent to me on Tumblr for years now, just because some random child thinks that Atticus Mitchell is still cool and doesn't care that he's a groomer. Especially when there are real people out there who have actually been emotionally affected by this whole situation. And yes, some of it did get to me, specifically the time when I was stalked, essentially. I don't want to get too dramatic, but I was essentially internet stalked, and the person found me on Instagram and a bunch of other social media pages. So if you're wondering why every social media of mine besides my YouTube account is private, that's why. I don't post anything on social media more anyways, and I decided to private all my accounts because I didn't like the idea that some random person who didn't like the fact that I didn't like an actor that they liked could then find out a bunch of personal information about me. And yes, I've wanted to make funny little YouTube shorts in the past about how I was actually beaten up and harassed by people who didn't like my Radio Rebel video because the line "Groomer Gabe" set off this person to go internet stalk me. But I think I have finally blocked them and all of their sock puppet accounts, and I have no longer been receiving hate, or maybe they just moved on to something else in their lives, which I hope is the case. You can understand why a large portion of the MBAV fandom don't want to talk about the character of Benny or don't want to talk about Atticus Mitchell anymore because this news disgusts them and they don't want to engage with that actor anymore because of this situation. And to get harassed by that, to get anon hate spam in your inbox because of that, is just stupid. This man isn't worth it, okay? Any actor who was in bunks doesn't deserve this much fan attention and fawning over. So there, I hope people will stop commenting under my videos asking, what did Atticus Mitchell do? Why do you hate him so much? You now know why. I usually don't do this kind of thing, and I notoriously skirt over a lot of serious topics in my videos, specifically because not only do I not feel that equipped to talk about topics such as this, but I also feel there's a time and place for sort of things, and I feel in a fun, silly video where I'm doing character analysis, it would feel weird to get into this whole thing about sexual harassment. It's also why, even though I promised over 2 years ago now that I would make a video about Sarah Fox, I have not, because I still just don't feel I'm equipped enough and have enough knowledge and credibility to make a video about that topic. So I don't know if that video will ever come out. And I originally was just never going to talk about this. If people, were to DM me about it, or if I got like genuine asks and not just people being mean to me because they just like were confused momentarily, I would tell them like, here's the information, here's the links, go educate yourself on the matter. But because it has been going on for so long, and because there are so many people who have told me, I looked it up and I couldn't find anything, so you don't know what you're talking about, I was like, I'm going to talk about it in this video. And I didn't want to like highlight Ian and Lynne specifically and, put their TikTok account on this big platform or whatever. Not that I have a big platform or anything, but just like bring it to YouTube. But since they have then said in their most recent video that they are okay and encourage people who have experienced similar things with this actor to, DM them so they can talk about it, I figured it would be okay if I featured them in this video. So where do we go from here? How have I been able to talk about My Babysitter's a Vampire for so many hours on my channel when for a majority of the time I have known this information? Well, it helps that Atticus Mitchell was a child when he was on the show, and it was before any of this sort of stuff had happened or he had engaged in this sort of behavior. There's no way to watch this show and financially support anybody who worked on it anymore. Like, maybe the actors get a $10 check in the mail every time the movie airs on Disney Channel in October. But for the most part, there is essentially zero way you're going to financially help out anybody who worked on this show by engaging in it and watching the series. And at the end of the day, Atticus Mitchell's actions do not affect my personal opinion on the fictional character of Benny, because he already sucks ass in the first place to begin with. I feel like a lot of people looked over this probably because they were children and didn't understand, or they just thought the actor was hot so they didn't care. But the character of Benny himself is extremely misogynistic and problematic, I'll say it. And that's okay. It's okay if fictional characters are bad people because they're not real, and the actions that they do in the show are not happening to real people in real life. So every time that Benny calls a girl babe or Cat calls someone in the hallway is not as serious or important as the actual actor in real life actually assaulting people. Allegedly. The fact that Atticus Mitchell has never commented on any of this and has also deleted a bunch of Instagram posts, I think speaks more than any sort of notes app apology would. And I just really hope everybody who was affected by this horrible person have since grown and healed and have attempted to move on past this horrible situation. No one deserves to go through something like this. This was not any of the victims' faults. They were all young children who were in an abusive, powered relationship with a person who did not deserve their time or energy and abused their situation as an actor on a children's television show to meet young people and engage in romantic relationships with them. And that's gross and disgusting, and I think I'm allowed to make fun of this person in my videos. So please stop commenting about it on my channel. Now you know. I think people need to be educated about the situation, not only so I can get some peace, but so people know and they stop unknowingly supporting this actor. Like I said, you can do whatever you want with the information. If you still decide that you like Atticus Mitchell and you don't care that he engaged in all this behavior, then I don't want you to subscribe to this channel. Like, I'm not a big fan of you, but you're allowed to do that. But I feel like there are so many people out there who would no longer want to be a fan of this man once they knew this information. We're done now. We're now going to try and shift the mood and conclude this video. I'm sorry that things got so serious, but I think it was necessary to talk about. So, thank you for listening. Is my, halo out of frame now? Has it always been out of frame? Genuinely, this video has been years in the making. I feel like my whole life has been leading up to this exact point, which I've already said, but still, I want to emphasize it more. This show means so much to me, and I feel like having a nuanced, in-depth conversation about it is very necessary. That's kind of what I do on this channel, so if you want to hear me, talk about things relating to Disney Channel or sitcoms and movies that people don't take seriously, then feel free to subscribe. I'm currently working on a massive project where I watch and rank and review every Disney Channel original movie, which there's over 100 of them. So I can't wait to work on that video. Obviously, because you're an expert in MBAV like I am now, you would know that My Babysitter's a Vampire is not a DCOM, but I still love the Disney Channel and all of the stuff they make on there, and I still put all of my Babysitter's a Vampire videos in like my DCOM playlist. I reviewed many a Disney Channel show like Wizards of Waverly Place, Sunny with a Chance, The Sweet Life on Deck, which I loved by the way, and not to spoil anything, but I'm currently working on a video about Good Luck Charlie, so look out for that. Also, as a joke, I made a poll where I asked people if I reached 1,000 subscribers, what video they'd want me to make. And as a funny bit, I put Dog with a Blog as an option. And everyone started voting for it. So I might just have to make a 5-hour video about Dog with a Blog. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I've definitely learned my lesson there. I'm not gonna repeat that mistake and make something as a joke, as an option, and then end up having to do it. Although I have a really great idea for Dog with a Blog. I wouldn't have put that if I didn't at least know what I would do with it. Even though this might be my final video about MBAV on this channel, I will still always be a MBAV YouTuber in my heart. And also knowing me, I won't be able to not yap about this show even more in the future, so we'll see. But I've said enough. I think I've fed you guys enough MBAV content to last at least a few winters, right? Thanks for watching. I'm genuinely so grateful. Thank you for 1,000 subscribers. It genuinely, I can't even talk about it. Thank you guys so much. See you in the next video. Bye.